Let's move on to part 4 now and continue this series. Okay, we're going to start to move forward on the S&P contracts, NASDAQ contracts, and New York Stock Exchange contracts. Just wanted to show on this slide real quick, the S&P 500 has an abbreviation for the symbol. This is for a mini. If you notice the ES, if you went to chart the S&P 500 for a futures contract, and it's a mini contract, you would put ES. The NASDAQ 100 would be NQ. The New York Stock Exchange would be YM. I wanted to just go over that real quick as we move forward and discuss minis and micro contracts and how to trade those. Okay, we're going to do a comparison now between a few different indexes. I trade the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500. So I'm going to use these two as an example. Okay, if you look at these, you've got an abbreviation for the NASDAQ 100 as MNQ being the micro contract or NQ being the mini contract. Those are the symbols that you put into the chart to pull up that chart. So if you're going to trade a micro contract, it would be MNQ. If you're going to trade a mini contract, it would be NQ. Now, as far as the S&P 500 goes, a micro would be MES. The mini would be an ES. Now let's go over how the points and the ticks work on this. There are 4 ticks and a point. If you look out to the right, a lot of people assume that that's a dollar value to the right of the chart. That's actually a point value. So let's use an example. If we had an NQ contract and we decided to go ahead and enter long, and we took that entry and it moved up 10 points, that NQ contract, 10 points, would gain you $200. That's $5 per tick. You notice if it was a micro, it would be 20 or 50 cents a tick. There's 4 ticks in each point. Looking down at the ES, if you entered a contract with the same scenario and you gained 10 points, that would be $50 times 10 points, which is $500. Same thing goes for the micro. It would be $50. So if you look at those, that gives you a brief overview of how the contracts break down and the two that I trade and how each point determines the value.